All right, good afternoon from North Idaho. We are going to redo a video that I tried doing earlier today. And my wife called me right in the middle of it, and I didn't feel like patching two videos together. She actually called me a third time, or a second time, and I had to make a third video to finish it. We're going to talk about doing some self-allergy testing or inflammation testing. Talk about a couple common foods that, you know, you can skip some of the tests if you do some, if you're paying for some of the tests, I should say. And a lot of times I don't like the blood tests that you get at the doctor anyway. Well, some of them saliva, some of them blood. Some of them are good, some of them aren't. We've gone through the testing pretty extensively with my son, so we've ran through the whole gamut of urine, stool, blood, saliva, all different kinds of allergy and just other kind of testing that we've done. So the best way to start is to pick out one of these four. I think we're going to leave it at four most common, and go from there. Give yourself 2 to 3 weeks for sure between trying to change anything else. You have to have a control, so you want to do 2 or 3 weeks of just sticking to removing one item from your diet completely, and then documenting how you feel before you change anything else, because you got to give it time. You know, we do live in an ADD world where people want to know immediately, but you know, when you're dealing with your body, it takes time to get clear results. So you want to start with either nuts in general or just down to peanuts. I have a slight allergy to almonds and a more moderate allergy to peanuts, and it took me a while to figure that out, but peanuts are a big one. So certainly check labels, because there's a lot of stuff that peanuts are in that you wouldn't think they should be in. It's just like almost become one of those filler items on certain things, and you just kind of throw your hands in the air and go, why does this have peanuts in it? So check the labels thoroughly, and you know, sometimes it'll say processed in a facility that also processes, you know, soy, dairy, peanuts, or whatever. It'll say that as an allergy. If you have a severe allergy that can like send you to the hospital, then obviously that's something you want to label. If you're just trying to figure out what is giving you inflammation, what is giving you gut problems, you know, you don't need to worry about that part, what kind of facility it was processed in. So that's a good one to start. The number one that people never want to do, because it's the worst one to do, is cutting dairy out of your diet. So we'll talk briefly. Dairy is the way dairy's processed today. They want it to be super pasteurized. Basically, they want to give you dairy that's sterile, which is the exact opposite way in which to consume dairy. And also at the high heats, it changes many dairy products on a molecular level, which make it almost unrecognizable to your body. So it's not the best thing to be consuming heavily pasteurized dairy products. It's just not. I know they give raw milk products a bad rap, and they say they're terrible and they could kill you from this, which is a total joke. I mean, alcohol in this country kills more people every day than raw milk has in the last 50 years. So let's keep things into perspective when we're talking about raw milk. I would not consume raw milk that's shipped from South Carolina, living in Idaho, right? I go down to one of these farms around here. Now, this is a raw milk right state, so we can go ahead and get raw milk pretty readily around here, whether it's raw goat or raw cow, and that's fantastic. I think that's a good barometer of, you know, what kind of state you should live in. If they don't let you drink raw milk, tell them to go shove it. But raw milk contains those naturally occurring enzymes and microbes or bacteria that allow you to digest it. They also help coat the lining of your small intestine and your digestive tract and boost your beneficial bacteria in there. There's a lot of positives to raw milk. Anybody who says that there is no difference, you know, they're either an idiot or they're peddling dairy products that are heavily pasteurized. So definitely, so basically what you're looking at now is you're looking at a dairy product that is heavily pasteurized. Your body can't recognize it, and it certainly has trouble digesting it. So That is a big one for inflammation. Dairy is massive for inflammation. I know all my favorite foods contain cheese too. You know, it is what it is. You can suffer through, 3 or 4 weeks of no dairy to see how much of an issue it's causing you. And a lot of people would be really surprised. I was massively surprised. I shouldn't say massively surprised, but I was surprised at the difference it made in my digestion. Because I knew I had a dairy problem. I have a pretty significant dairy problem. So I knew it was an issue. I addressed it, and it stinks because it limits your diet quite a bit, but I try to just view foods for the most part as something that is fuel for my body rather than that's something that's trying to make me, super happy and excited. Some kind of pleasure foods, I guess. We always look for the pleasure foods, which makes sense. They release, hormones in the brain that make you feel happy for a little bit until you start feeling crappy because you ate it. So definitely look at dairy. Dairy's big. Next is wheat and gluten. I know people like to harp on gluten-free and say, it's a trend and it's not a big issue. Well, it is an issue because on a fundamental level, like most other large-scale mechanized agricultural products in our country, has been basically, the processing has been completely destroyed on what how wheat and all grains are supposed to be processed. They're supposed to be, number one, they're supposed to be very expensive. Grains are not supposed to be cheap. Until modern mechanized farming and government subsidies to subsidize these products, they were expensive. And that's because the right way to process grains is time consuming. And that time allows, it's kind of like it was an artisanal sort of process it had to go through. The really fine grain growers were held in high regard because of the skill they had making a good product. And giving that time that it took, the hand processing or with oxen or whatever that you used, it allowed the grain to have a small amount of fermentation, and that fermentation allowed for those, again, the bacteria and the enzymes to be present to help you digest it. And it was also something that wasn't consumed on a super high, large amount of consumption daily like we do today. So if you think how much, most of the time, I would probably, I hate to put a number on it, but let's just say the vast majority of meals that a typical American has is going to contain wheat in some form, right? So that is a big one for bogging down the gut and, basically not allowing your body to digest anything as effectively as it should. And then it lacks those vital key nutrients as well. We have really poor wheat quality in this country, one of the worst in the world. And that's because it's been so bastardized. We've got, the Monsanto grains. We've got the highly mechanized systems that process and dry it. Oftentimes it's dried chemically even. They'll add chemicals to it like glyphosate in order to dry it out even faster so they can process quicker. One thing the corporate world hates is waiting, even if it means a better product, because waiting costs them money. So there's a lot of problems with grain products in this country, particularly wheat. And also, I think that a price point in which you feel you should only consume grain maybe 3 or 4 times a week, a decent amount of grain, is the price point in which it should be at, because it shouldn't be, this empty carb calorie filler that we just munch on because, we gotta shove something down the gut and we want to feel full real quick. It shouldn't be a big deal to spend $7 or $8 on a nice loaf of artisanal bread that is actually a benefit to consume. Now, a lot of these things you can't go straight in. If you have a legitimate gut problem, which most Americans do, it takes going through this process to figure out that you do. Your body does a good job after time when you bombard it with heavy amounts of chemicals and processed foods. It tends to hide the symptoms to a certain degree until cancer shows up or diabetes shows up or one of those other ailments that occurs. So high cholesterol, whatever it might be, heart attack, Yeah, so it's definitely a dangerous one to not consider if you are having some kind of problems or feel like you're having some kind of problems, because you add in the fact the amount of pesticides and stuff that's sprayed on them. It's a dangerous product just because of the quantity in which it is produced and put into our foods. So there's another one. Try that out. And then let's see, what's the fourth one I was going to bring up? I'm having a brain cramp here. Oh, the one that is just this one. There's just no, if you have a birthday or an anniversary, but one that just should not be consumed in basically any quantity. You shouldn't say I'm going to have X amount of servings of this a week and I'm good. Is refined sugar. I mean, refined sugar is basically the devil of the industry. It is one of the absolute best facilitators of disease. Tumors feed off of processed sugar. And sometimes people like to say, well, your body views a refined sugar the same as a simple sugar from an apple or something, which is total nonsense, because an apple is full in its natural form, and heavily processed refined sugar, if you actually look at it molecularly, it's chopped up, so it can be absorbed super fast, even faster than a fruit juice. That's a real whole fruit juice, obviously, not a diluted, concentrated, sugar added fruit juice. But refined sugar is a big cause of inflammation. It's also, you might think you're eating healthy, but you're still having too much sugar in your diet. And as soon as you cut out that sugar, you will be surprised at how fast you'll lose weight. And I mean cutting the sugars out like a lot. I mean, I don't even have that much fruit anymore. Outside of a banana in the morning or something like that, I try not to consume very much of it at all. And that's really important, because you have a lot of people that have thyroid issues, heavy metal toxicities that cause issues in the adrenal gland and the thyroid, and so it's already tough to lose weight and keep your energy levels up. Sorry, I gotta drink some. So address the sugars. First thing we did is when we went to do the elimination diet, which if you're worried about your family's health and you're not sure where to start, buck up for a month and do the elimination diet with your whole family. That way everybody's eating the same. No one's pulling out a Domino's 3-cheese pizza in front of somebody else who's trying to be healthy. Just do it for the whole family. Do the elimination diet. I'll do a little bit on the elimination diet with my cookbook. I'll do that for a video. That'll be good, because I'm not going to get into that here. But we threw out everything that had sugar in it in our pantry, I think. Yeah, we did. We threw out, or we didn't throw it all away. We gave some away to like our babysitter and stuff like that. We're not total heathens. But yeah, we got rid of it. I should just say we got rid of it. And even at the time, I gave my honey away, which I'm a big fan of honey, and I've introduced that. That's basically, if I use a sweetener, I'll use a little bit of honey. But you definitely want to minimize that as another one of your starting points. Really minimize that, because it's another one that's hiding in everything. There's so many things. Start looking at labels. There's so many things that have sugar, and you go, why in the hell does this have sugar? It doesn't make any sense. So those are the 4 I'd start with. Don't do them all at the same time. Unless you're doing the elimination diet, which elimination diet cuts out everything, and you start with this basic broth, which I'll go into, and then you add things back in. If you don't want to make that big of a step right away, between 2 and 4 weeks, do each one, and then see how you feel. And I think for a lot of you out there, you're going to find that at least one of those things is giving you problems, if not all 4. So start there, check it out, and then we'll do another one about the elimination diet if you really want to go hardcore, or you find out that one of those is giving you a problem, but you still got something else going on. We'll cover that in an elimination diet video. All right, guys, have a good one. Thank you.